Hi, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Stardew Therapy, where we talk about everyday issues and hopefully through this sharing you find some of it relatable and know that you're not alone in facing these issues. And despite which country you're from, which continent you're from, we're kind of similar in some ways or another in terms of the mental issues that we are facing, the actual problems, the concerns, the health issues, whatever it is that we are facing, because we are human after all. And today we're going to be talking about just why I don't want to have kids. I think this has been quite an issue. I think generally a lot of people it's kind of an expected thing, right? Like, you are bound to have a kid. That is how life is, how biology works, and how, generally people expect that. And, and it's kind of like a problem when you try and run counter towards what people expect, right? The normal expectations. And I'm quite sure some of you who have made a decision not to have kids would understand my position, and we might have similar like concerns as well, similar reasons why we don't want to have kids. So, for me, it really came from my parents. I think in the first episode where I talk about anxiety, like I talk about how when I was young, childhood wasn't particularly great. I think my father was kind of mentally abusive to some extent. He's someone who has anger problem, but something that I'm just glad that didn't happen was that he wasn't physically abusive, but he was kind of mentally abusive. He would shout, he would raise his voice, he would bang the wall, he would make like, there was no communications at all. He will show a lot of signs of disapproval without any communications. That's the hardest because you don't know what you're doing wrong. And this created a lot of like trauma in the early on stages of my life. And I guess, when you talk about abuse and everything, they always say like, your parents are the first bully, and the second bully is outside. And that's what happened, like every day was just painful. Then my parents would kind of quarrel with one another. It wasn't a good relationship, and I just hated life early on. And that is like, this mental abuse kind of led to me having a lack of confidence, and I overthink too much because I do not know what I'm doing wrong, but my father is like showing displeasure, and this made me try and overthink to compensate with like, what am I exactly doing wrong? I need to avoid this so that he won't be angry at me, so that I don't have to feel sad, uncomfortable. And that is what happened. I overthink to try and save myself. And then, I just have these holes of problem, lack of confidence, lack of ability to think that I have control. And I think, it continued to affect my life in high school, in university, and it's like, and even at work. I'm quite sure some of you will have like seen or heard that episode where I talk about how, at work it has been particularly hard, having to deal with a lot of uncertainty and anxiety, right? With different things happening that I can't control. And this like, and with all these things happening, I kind of wonder like am I fit to be a parent? Like, do I want to pass down all this mental problem that I have? And perhaps you can say that it won't be passed down, but your behavior kind of affects your kids, right? Because you're a role model, they follow you. Then I'm in this position. Can I even like be a good example for them? And some people will say, you want to be, it's okay, you just need to be good enough. That's what a lot of parents do, right? You can't expect to be perfect in every other way. So that is how it is. But my mindset has always been, I don't want to be like my parents, who did not think, who did not consider before having a child. They just went ahead with it because it's what everybody expects, right? It's normal. It's normal. And I don't want to be one of those people that just have a child because you need to do that. You have to. You are expected to. And this ends up like in a situation where where you are not capable to give a child the kind of good life he needs, right? The kind of mentally stable environment. So that has always been at the back of my head. Like, I want to be confident, I want to be good enough to do that. And I don't think I will ever get out of all these problems. I don't think I'll be at that level. So that's not possible. That's one big reason. And also the bad genes. I think my father is kind of like how do I say? He has anger problems. So this is not really good really, right? It kind of passes down, isn't it? My grandfather also has anger problems. And then my mother is a chronic overthinker, has a lot of anxiety. And when you have somebody that has... And my father also overthinks, surprisingly. Maybe they are a match made in heaven. So essentially you have this overthinker father that has like anger issues, that doesn't know how to communicate. Then you have a mother that overthinks, that don't know how to like stand up for herself. Then this creates like the worst combination, right? And then I start to see myself like behaving, thinking like they do, and I can't control it because that's how it is, right? Like some parts of it is like passed down. The anxiety part, the overthinking part. It could be nature. It could be a genes thing. It could be a nurture thing where through interactions with them, through the way they behave in front of me, the way they parent me, created such an issue, isn't it? But I don't know. But I'm gonna assume that it's both ways, like nature and nurture, and I might pass down to my child, right? And why would I want to do that? Why would I want to make my child kind of feel the same way as I do, to go through this pain? And that's the main reason. Like no, I don't want that to happen. Like to go through this whole pain. And there's a lot more reasons, to be honest. Like I've kind of like a perfectionist mindset, because after being in this kind of position, right, where like my parents aren't doing enough, so I feel that I need to do very good for myself. And the way I treat other things, like, it's like if I were to have a child, I want to be able to give him the best possible, right? Like my parents will never, they tried their best, but I don't think they did their best in that sense. Like, and I felt that if I was a parent, I want to give my child all the possible opportunities he can get. Like if you want to study overseas because local universities are not good enough, then I would like to have the monetary means to do that, right? And if he wants the best, like I also want to give him the best school, best laptop, best bag, best whatever things possible. And I suppose this kind of thinking is not that great. And you know, not everybody is perfect. Unless you are born with a silver spoon, then that is possible. You can actually have a lot of monetary means to do that. But generally most of us are like, you know, middle income, low income. We try our best, and that's what it is. But personally, it just doesn't sit well with me. If I want to have a child, I want to give the best, like the very best, and there's a certain standard to it. It's not just the best to your abilities. Yeah, it's best to my expectations, and that's the expectations that kills me. Just everywhere in life, right? Having too much expectations, and that's one part of it. Having that kind of expectations and perfectionist mindset. And next is rising cost of living. I'm quite sure some of you who are living in America, I'm not quite sure whether it affects other countries. I'm quite sure it does. Things are getting more and more expensive. Even in Singapore, like houses are very expensive. And despite what the government is doing, trying to curb the cost of living, the houses, it is still very costly. And especially in Singapore, everything is pretty expensive. The cost of living is high. I think we can kind of compare it to San Francisco or the major like tech. I mean, San Francisco is where the Silicon Tech Valley is, right? If I'm not wrong. Like this kind of places where like cost of living is high, houses are expensive. Overall like expenses can be expensive as well. So this is, this puts me in a weird position. Like at this point, I don't have the kind of finances to provide the life for my kids. Like I can't give them the best, right? Because it's so expensive. Unless like I'm earning like tons of money, but I'm not. I wish I could, but physically, mentally I can't. Like I tried. I'm still dealing with my own issues and it's stopping me from doing more, right? In it at work. And that sucks, man. That absolutely sucks. But I can't help it. That's how it is. And you know, and it's not just the cost of living that is high. That's a huge issue. But it is also um the the intense education system. This is something that is very relevant to Singapore, where you know Asian parents, like we are all Asians, right? And there's this high emphasis on doing well in school, and there's always a competition where you know you try to like parents are competing with one another, comparing their kids with one another. Like, oh, you know, you need to send your kids to tuition, to extra classes, to like ballet studying classes, or all this kind of nonsense. And this is like horrendous, man. It's terrible. It's like it's a literal rat race. And I don't know. It's just it's just painful though. It's just painful. Like to have to go through the education system. And and it's very, very stressful. It's very stressful. You have people committing suicide because of that. It's like similar level to Korea. You have people like, you know, people are sitting for that one big exam. It's similar to us. We have a lot of like big exams and people are, you know, there are past situations where, you know, kids couldn't take it anymore and they just jump. And mental health is not really a Asian thing, right? It's not something that is very commonly talked about. It's shunned and it's a private thing. People are opening up, but overall that's not the case, right? It's still slowly I don't know, changing, I guess. And beyond that, I think this kind of like study mentality, education mentality also kind of permeates to work culture as well. So there's a heavy overtime culture in Singapore. That's why like I think a lot of overseas company like Singaporeans because we work a lot. There's no work-life balance. Like there's no emphasis on that. People work till they drop and a lot of us are very unhappy and we work a lot more hours than the rest of the world. And that sucks. And I don't want my child to be in that kind of position. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's also when it comes to having a child, I think the most important, the most like how do I say major part I feel is also the part where when you have a child, you have to put in all of your time into them, right? Your money and your time goes to them, to nurturing them. If you're not doing that, then I mean, I'm not a good parent, right? I want to be able to do that. And everybody does. And when you do that, you kind of sacrifice your time, your money. And at this age I suffered so much in my early life that I can't afford to part with my time and my money. I want to enjoy life. I want to get back the time that I lost. I want to be happy. And I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm locked in and I can't be happy. Perhaps nurturing a child is happy, but to be honest, I like to just, you know, enjoy life while I can. And also you never know what happened to the child. Like maybe the child might be born with some issues, and I would still love him, but that's too much of a risk. I can't take it mentally. I will die. I can't handle my own mental issues already, and I still have to deal with that. Like I can't, man. I can't. When you see Reddit people confessing to like saying that they can't stand their own like child with issues and all these kind of things, it's painful. And yet they love them. And it's kind of put them in a very awkward situation, isn't it? And you know, and there's also besides um besides potential health issues that might occur in your child, if they are normal, I'm quite sure a lot of the child will be like normal, right? There are also a lot of different different, I don't know, pathways that the child can go towards, right? They can be an asshole. It can be abusive. You never know. It can be they can go through so much of your go through those depression problems that you're facing right now. And how are you going to help him when you are going through the same issues? Maybe you're more experienced, but overall, like seeing your child in pain, that's the worst thing, right? That could happen. You can kind of empathize or sympathize, like try to put yourself in their shoes because your parents never want you to suffer and all these kind of things. And imagine your own child that you love so much, they're suffering, or perhaps they are someone of an abuser, or they are a bully. Then what now? Like you don't have to deal with that. And there's so much. There's 1,001 reasons not to have a kid. And perhaps when I grow old, nobody takes care of me. I mean, perhaps in the Asian context, a child is seen as someone who will have to take care of their parent when they grow old. But in the Western context, these kind of things doesn't really happen that much, right? Because the child just 18 years old, move out, and just go with their life and everything. And the parents, when they grow old, they just kind of live alone. Once in a while you visit them, but in Asia there's a different expectations and everything. But I think like there's certain sense that the child will take care of you when you grow old, but be honest, it's like that's not really a good point. Like you're just making use of the child, isn't it? And there's a lot of parents who have who have children, and they try to emotionally blackmail them to say, oh, you must provide for me when you start work, when you earn money, you should give me money, because that's your duty as a child. And that doesn't make sense. If I'm the parent, I want the best for them, and cost of living is so high. Why are you still giving me money? You should just keep it for yourself. And that's like all of these are main reasons. And it is what it is. And like sometimes when I tell my friends, like people that I met, like I never met before, when I met them, then I tell them like, oh, I don't want to have kids. They just look so surprised. But to be honest, this mentality is also growing. Like a lot of people don't want to have kids. It's pretty common now. And I mean, eventually, like it's like a shrinking population everywhere because cost of living is way too high. The world is like going into the dumpster, is on fire. Global warming is happening. I don't know. Passing all this burden to your child is like never great, I think. And it's very self-serving, isn't it? They say you have to have kids to to provide love, to feel love, to make your life like more, I would say, I mean, there's more people, it's more fun, right? But that is very self-serving, isn't it? And to have somebody love you back, I don't know. Or people can, I mean, I suppose the most logical reason is like it's a biological thing, you should procreate, but then logically it doesn't make sense for me. Like everything is so self-serving, to be honest. Like to have a child. Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully some parts of it was relatable. Some of the reasons, I suppose, might be one of your reasons as well. And anyway, yeah, this is gonna be the end. If you would like to share your problems or things that you're going through, I actually have a Google form in the description below. Feel free to share it. Can kind of be a cathartic release, and I can talk about it in the next video. You can always talk about your issues as well, not just my issues alone. I mean, we're kind of a community. We sit together and we just talk, and perhaps you can share experiences as well. And people can, if you have been through these issues, you can also comment, share your thoughts in the video below, and maybe other people can kind of gather insights and learn something from what you are sharing. And yeah, that will be it. I'm still considering whether should I create like another series. I'm thinking of trying to create a series where I just play the game longer and I just kind of talk about the game at the same time, also just talk about what is happening in my life. I want it to be like a podcast where you can listen to this and you'll fall asleep, like kind of a relaxing thing, because Stardew Valley is really very relaxing. But I mean, after you play it, you can listen to this, kind of fall asleep. Suppose that's what my thoughts are. If you think that's a good idea, comment down below and tell me don't know whether you will enjoy that. Like, yeah. So that's all for today, and I guess I see you all Wednesday. I mean, it's my release schedule is Wednesday and Saturday in Asia. So I suppose maybe in America it's morning Wednesday and morning Saturday. Not too sure, but it's around that time. 2 times a week. So that's all for now. See ya.